Hello, everyone. If you could just let me know in the chat whether you can hear or see me, and then we'll get started. So, hello, Stuart. Hello, Sabin, Bill, Tony, Graham. Hello, Beck. Beck. He's here to answer your questions this evening in the chat. Chucks, Amir, John. So if you guys can there's a slight lag on the chat, so it'll take a couple of seconds. So Greg says yes. Amir says yes, so we'll get, okay, brilliant. So it looks like you can hear and see me, so we'll get started in just a moment. See and hear, Bill can hear, okay, brilliant. Right, let me just say welcome to everyone this evening. My name's Duncan Morland. I'm your host for today's First Class Racing Live Q&A. And we might as well get stuck right in. Here's why I think you should be very excited about today's event. 2022 was a rough year for everyone, investors, savers, ordinary people like me and you. And so far, 2023 hasn't been too great either. Last year, stock markets crashed, crypto markets belly flopped, energy prices went through the roof. Mortgage rates followed them too, along with interest rates. And I don't know if you'll remember, but the government not wanting to be left out threw the pound along with the UK economy off a very high cliff. We can only guess why. Yet, amidst all of this money-swallowing financial chaos, one man has been steadily, confidently printing money for his members. And that man is Mel G, horse racing tipster Mel G, who over the last 18 months has helped his first class racing members more than double their betting banks. In other words, turn 500 quid into more than £1,000, £1,000 into more than £2,000, £5,000 into more than £10,000. You get the idea. You know what doubling your money is. Better yet, since the last time we did this Q&A back a couple of months ago in February, Mel has simply continued his winning trend. And today, we're going to chat to Mel to find out exactly how he does it. We'll cover Mel's betting history, including the decades he spent losing money, the specifics of his first-class racing strategy, including running through a real selection, to do with the Derby. Mel has already corrected me on how I pronounce that. It's not the Derby. We'll talk about that in a minute. And by looking at Mel's analysis of the Derby, we'll be able to see, live how he selects horses. And then we'll open up the floor. We're going to do that at the end of the Q&A, but we're going to do a live audience Q&A. So you can ask Mel whatever you like about his strategy, about his horse racing, kind of history, and all that kind of good stuff. And then, as I say at the end, Mel will be giving you a specific tip, a horse to bet on for the upcoming Derby on the 3rd of June. This would usually just be for paying members of First Class Racing. But as a thank you for attending this evening, Mel will walk you through this tip and the analysis, why he's recommending it. Plus, we'll also give you the chance to join Mel and his happy members in the First Class Racing community if you'd like to do so. But before I bring on Mel, I'm going to say something he's far too polite to say. We told you so. When we launched First Class Racing in July 2021, we used this headline: "Why are all these horse racing tipsters saying they'll lose you money?" And we listed loads of tipsters who are recommending 100 point, 200 point. There was one who was even recommending a 1,000 point starting bank. That's basically them saying to you, hey, we have absolutely no confidence in our selections, so you're going to need a really big starting bank to absorb our really long losing streaks. Mel promised an alternative, a profitable approach to betting that has a low frequency of bets with 1 or 2 per week, a high win strike rate, so there's no crazy losing streaks. And thanks to that high strike rate, you only need a small point bank of just 20 points. And guess what? Mel delivered exactly what he promised. Over the last 18 months or so, Mel's First Class Racing has averaged about one bet per week, achieved a seriously impressive win strike rate of 40% or above, about 45%, double what most horse racing tipsters can do, and never had a drawdown bigger than 8 points, keeping that 20-point bank nice and safe. And his Cheltenham results have been pretty phenomenal too. Last year, he tipped 7 bets, of which 5 won and 2 lost, for a strike rate of 71%. And one of those losers was a final fence faller. This all showcases what low frequency, high strike rate, small point bank betting looks like. And needless to say, members of Mel's first class racing service have been very happy with these results. For example, Pat Ryan says it's been an absolute pleasure to have joined this group and find such an honourable man, honest and full of knowledge, which he willingly shares with us. He's, of course, talking about Mel. Hammond says, I really appreciate the selections and the write-ups and the post-race analysis, and most importantly, I really appreciate you, Mel. Ronnie Taylor says, the bank has never been threatened, and I'm not just happy, but I'm ecstatic at this level of return. I'm going to share some more member feedback later on, but right now, though, it's time to bring in Mel so he can answer your questions. So, Mel, are you there? Can you hear me?
Hi, Duncan. Yes. Hello, everyone, and thanks very much for taking the time to join us this evening. You're very welcome, and I hope I can talk to you quite differently from perhaps how tipsters you may have had contact with have spoken to you. I'll try to show you something very different.
Yeah, and I think it's good that people are going to get to ask you their questions, so there's kind of no, pulling the curtain back, so you can ask Mel anything about his strategy, anything. Mel's got like 4 decades of horse race betting experience, so take advantage of that this evening. Before we open up to audience questions, Mel, could you just give people who don't know you a little background on your life with horse racing?
Yeah, for sure. Just to correct, my experience spans 5 decades. Sorry, Duncan.
Oh, sorry, I just knocked off a decade.
I just look very young.
I'm trying to make you younger, Mel. That's
Well, continue. Okay, very briefly, I started out with no interest in horse racing whatsoever until 1970, in my teens. And I followed a horse called Nijinsky, 1970 this is, and Lester Piggott. I followed them right through that year. It was a record-breaking year where Nijinsky won the Triple Crown, which is winning the 2,000 guineas, the Derby, and the third classic, which is the St. Leger. During that year, there was a 2-year-old also making waves, and that 2-year-old was called Mill Reef. The following year, 1971, Mill Reef had everything before him. He won the Derby, he won the Eclipse, he won the King George, and in the late October, he won the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. First English trained racehorse actually for 23 years to go to France and win that prize. So Nijinsky and Leicester started me off, and Mill Reef from that point. In fact, I've gone very shivery now just talking about them. From that point, for me, there was no return. So I set about reading everything that I could about horse racing. The greatest asset that I had then, which I didn't know at the time, but my greatest asset was I didn't bet. I didn't bet because I didn't have money that I could lose. So I just read and followed the racing. I learned everything that I could about horses, trainers, jockeys, owners, race courses. I wanted to know who were Weatherbys, what did they do, who are the Jockey Club, all sorts of things that I think the casual bettor or many bettors have absolutely no interest in. It's just about betting. For me, it was never all about betting. What I started to do was read form, not very well, and I lost when I started betting a few years later. I created dozens upon dozens of systems, and they all lost as well. I bought systems from system sellers, and they all lost as well. I followed tips.
I think a lot. I think everyone is. It sounds like everyone's kind of betting journey.
Absolutely,
trying all kinds of systems and
yeah, and that is the journey that I would suggest 99.9% of bettors go through. And I just continued to lose every year that I bet. I can put hand on heart and say I never had a winning year. But I had this passion for horse racing, and I've said this to guys in first class racing on the Telegram. When you reach that point that you've lost enough money, that's when you decide, right, need to change. And the old adage, if you change nothing, nothing changes. So I stopped betting and I just worked every day, every single day, 7 days, every possible moment to learn how can I turn myself from being a loser into being a winner. And it was quite a short apprenticeship, probably about 40 years. And I eventually got to the stage that I'm at now. And people must remember, if there was a book written and that book could be taken off the shelf that said, this is how you win betting on horses, we'd all have that book. But there is no book, there is no manual. And so I set out, even when I thought, yeah, this is it, it wasn't, and I lost the game. But the involvement of the horse racing calendar, it's kind of channeled me, funneled me to not betting every day because you're not going to win. And also now I concentrate on one area only, which is Class 1 races, which from the top is Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, and listed races. And they are held in the UK, Ireland, and France. So I've found a niche market or a niche area of horse racing, but I had to do all the other dross, if you like, which was from Class 7 right the way through, handicap, stakes, novice races, everything. But I don't bet in those races now. And I only look if one of my trainers has got a horse running, and I look out of interest. But the discipline now is I don't bet. I don't bet until I see that one horse that I think, according to my interpretation of the form book, that horse stands out and ought to win. And
so that's kind of that was my second kind of follow-up question, which is about your strategy. And we haven't got a question in the chat, but we've got somebody calling us fraudsters already, which is good. So I think I think
fraudsters.
I think we can directly kind of talk about your approach, because your approach is far and few between bets. You don't bet unless you're dead sure. So sometimes there is long waits between bets, and that's so when I say like you might average a bet per week, you might have like some, a 2 week, 3 week span where you don't have it. It's an average.
Absolutely, it's an average.
Yeah. And so for some people, that's a huge transition. I mean, the track record speaks for itself, the long-term track record, but it's a huge transition to go from, betting every day, 5 bets a day or whatever, to no, we're going to bet, once every 2 weeks, once a week. You might have to bide your time. Maybe even in a popular festival, there is no bets kind of thing. So can you just speak to that kind of attitude shift? How did you, why did you make that shift? And like, what's your kind of thoughts about other people struggling to make that shift?
Right. Well, I made the shift, and I'll go back to what I said a few moments ago, because I'd lost enough money, and I'm talking a lot of money. I'd lost it. So if I'd have continued doing what I was doing, I would have lost more money, hence the change. And what I would say is probably 100% of the clients in First Class Racing were on my journey, and a lot of them were betting several horses per day, almost every day, followed tipsters. And so my way is so different that they've had to change and kind of say, right, I've joined this service, First Class Racing. It's different. They don't bet every day. They don't bet every week. I'm going to follow it. And those that signed up to that are now the ones that are sending in such fantastic testimonials saying, I'm now winning. I've stopped losing. And for me, that's fantastic because that's more winners. And we've turned them from being habitual losers to consistent winners. And that's really what First Class Racing tries to do through myself, is if you've been doing it that way, if you're honest, you will say, I've lost. And sometimes I'll hear people say, oh, I was about even after being betted. Oh, I was about even. No, you weren't. If you're really honest, you lost. You may not have lost too much, but you didn't break even. You lost money. And you have to start being honest with yourself. And so we encourage people when they join us to have a starting bank and not be betting from hand to mouth, so to speak, to have a proper betting bank specifically for betting. The minimum I would suggest is £1,000. That should give you a minimum of £50 per bet, and run it with £50 per bet, and just see if at the end of 1 year you should have close to 2,000, maybe more, which means your subs are paid and you've got more money. And suddenly you're a winner. You're in the 2% of bettors that win. And we're now into our third year, I think it is. I think we're into our third year. And most of our clients have been with us since we called it a trial by Telegram, where I said, right, just do what I do. And I think we made something like nearly 7 points in that first month. And so £50 a point, £350 profit. So there's 350 there, no subs because it was a trial. And that's what we try to do. So we've got lots and lots of people on here, which is fantastic. So I would say to them, if you're already winning and you want to add me to what you're already winning, fantastic. But will you email us, clients at the Bet Chat, and tell me who you're winning with? But I suspect most of you are here because you love the racing, you want to be involved now and again, but you'd like to win from it as well. In which case you've come to the right place. Don't be expecting bets every day. Don't be expecting bets every week or every fortnight, because good bets that we're going to be betting are not there every day. And that's a fact.
So yeah, that's a good summary of your kind of ethos, I think, with the service. So I've got a couple of things I wanted to just ask you. If anybody has any questions, we're going to open up to audience questions. So just pop them in the chat. There's a slight delay of about 10 seconds, I think. But any questions you have for Mel about his thoughts on specific betting events, on, betting process, strategy, whatever, his betting history, his thoughts on other services, if you want to get contentious. But Mel, my thoughts is, if you think about stock trading, I think moving to your service is a little bit like going from day trading, where they're sat at the computer every day trying to trade the markets, trying to make a profit, to somebody just investing in like a broad index fund where you just put your money in and you kind of maybe check it like a few times a year. I mean, you're obviously doing it a bit more frequent than that, but it's making this transition to like a long-term kind of like a long-term approach. It does take learning to like manage your emotions, and it takes developing discipline. Like some of the quotes we're going to share from members later on explicitly say that, it's not just the tips that they've got from the service and the profit. It's this development of a discipline, which, it's becoming not a gambler. You're becoming like an investor in a sense, or a professional bettor. So it's that. How do you, I mean, for you, I guess it took a long time, but do you have any tips for people like making that transition to a long-term view?
Yeah, well, we're there every day. If anyone's got a question, then it's not a case you don't hear from me for a week. I will always answer a question. If I'm not available for whatever reason, say for half an hour or an hour, one of the clients will come on and answer that question, or Josh in the background will come on and support. I just want to say a thing. I quite easily was saying people bet £50 if you've got a 20-point bank, £50, £1,000. Some of you listening are probably thinking, wow, I've never bet £50 in my life. My max is 10, and I get that. But if you're on a Monday, you have 4 or 5 bets, 10, 10, 10, 10. There's your £50. If you had 5 losers, you've lost £50. On Tuesday, you've got 4 more bets, 10, 10, 10. There's another £40. Yeah, you might get a winner, whatever. On Wednesday, you've got another 4 bets, £10, £10, £10. You see, so you are already betting £50, but not just in one sum. And I would suggest, if you're following a tipster or just following yourself, I would suggest, if your win rate, your strike rate, wins to bets, if you're hitting something like 17, 18%, or doing really, really well around 22%, I would suggest that's where you and your tipster are. And I've got so much history and experience of tipsters. That's where they are. I looked at one tipster just a few weeks ago, really big name, 75 consecutive losers, and I just think it's guessing. Anyway, come back to what I was saying. So you already are betting these £50, but not just on one horse. And if your strike rate is 17, 22%, you've got to be betting winners at 9-2, 5-1, just to be breaking even, really, or making very, very little. But our strike rate, my strike rate for first class racing, is consistently year after year 48 to 52, 53%. So long losing runs, we don't have them, but at 17, 22% strike rate, then yeah, I'm telling you now, whatever you say, whatever you think, I'm telling you now, you have long losing runs.
So I guess that's that, when I'm asking how do you deal with the emotions of not betting every day, plenty of people have to deal with the emotions of having a lot of losers in a row. So, I guess it sounds more appealing to me to deal
this
with
is what I had, Duncan. I would be betting and think, God, that's 12 12 losers on the trot, 13 losers. And my, when I decided this is what I wanted to do, I would look at those 13 bets. Why have they not won? And then I would pore over the form, over this, over that, such variables like going, draw, jockey, trainer, course, all sorts of variables, and see if I could get those 13 losers down to 3 losers. And then, having made a new rule, if you like, I'd then go back over the first or the previous 1 or 2 or 3 seasons, applying this new rule. And remember, when I was doing this, there was no iPhone, iPad, there was no internet. This was all pouring through hard copy. And when you're poring over hard copy, you notice something else and think, wow, didn't know about that. And there's some more information. These tipsters, systemites, whatever, there's a portal that they go to, and they put parameters into this portal, press a button, and it gives them a list of horses that fit that to fit their parameters. And it might be, I don't know, 24, 25% strike rate. It's absolute tosh, because once they start using it going forward, then they'll be on to the losers. And I see it regularly, because you can't learn anything. You can learn nothing by putting into a portal five furlongs to 1 mile, good to soft up to good to firm. Teaches you nothing. It's the computer is just spitting out the answer that you're hoping to find. There's nothing like hard work, and that's probably throughout anyone's career in life. You can't shortcut.
So a lot of your edge comes from your kind of manual process and your history with your history with looking at racing day to day. We've got a couple of questions coming from the audience, so if anybody does have any more questions, just stick them in the chat and I'll pitch them to Mel. So Colin asks kind of 2 questions. What would you say your average win price is, and where do you place bets? I'm guessing he means with bookmakers. If so, which bookmakers, or Betfair Exchange? So your average win price, and where do you place bets?
Our average win price is between 13 to 8 and 7 to 4. So that's very tight, but that's our average win price. I'll give you the answer to another question that may come up later. What's the biggest price we've ever won at? Well, it was at Royal Ascot last year, and that was 4 to 1. We have had 130 winners. We've had 3 to 1 winners. We get 9 to 4 winners. Do we bet odds on? Absolutely we do, because horses are odds on for a reason. The skill is selecting the right odds on horses, and we have a good strike rate there. Brings the average price down, but I'm not bothered. If I'm working at 48, 53% strike rate with an average price around 13 to 8, 7 to 4, the maths are not difficult. Basically, provided I keep up those figures, we can't lose. It's as simple as that. And that's it in a nutshell. It's as simple as that. We can't lose, provided I keep those figures. And we do year after year after year. Not bad for a fraudster. Has that fellow gone, or lady? I don't know who it was. But you see, people have closed minds. How on earth could I be sat here on a Wednesday evening, a successful professional bettor who makes reasonable amounts of money to have horses in training? How on earth could I be that person? I'll tell you why. because I've spent 53, 54 years getting here with a 40-year apprenticeship. That's why. Simple.
If anyone wants to see the full track record of the service, you could email clients@thebetchat.com, and Joshua or Beck or the support team will email you the full kind of spreadsheet so you can see it bet by bet. So the second part of, thank you for answering that, Mel. The second part of Colin's question was, where do you place bets? And I guess I'll add to that is the track record realistic? Are the prices that you're recommending realistic for people to get on?
Okay, right. Firstly, I never send out a bet that I haven't already put my money on. And I think I'm obliged to be first in the queue. So I bet the horse before I tell people. Secondly, for example, if we had a horse at 7-4 with 6 or 7 or 8 bookmakers, but one bookmaker was at 2-1, I would send out the bet as a 7-4 bet, but just highlighting 2-1 with whoever. But as far as first class racing records would be concerned, the bet would be 7-4. Bookmakers, I would think probably everyone in the chat has had their accounts closed. So have I. I opened up other accounts in friends' names with their bank accounts, and they got closed. And something I said at our last Q&A, and something I put out for our clients on Telegram in First Class Racing, is that 2 years ago, last week, I moved home. So I've got a new iPhone, new laptop, new iPad, so all those different new numbers. And I've got a new address, same name, same bank account. But I just thought, well, I'll just see if this bookmaker would open an account for me. And he did. So I tried it again and again and again. So at the moment, I've got about 5 or 6 accounts open with traditional bookmakers. Now, the bets I give out are usually 1 point win, and I suggest best odds guaranteed to use those bookmakers. If you can't get on with a traditional bookmaker, the exchange is so liquid with the bets that we have in the main, and I would not suggest Betfair SP. I would suggest that you could get a price on the exchange very close, if not a little bit better than the bookmaker price that I'm giving, remembering you'll probably have to pay 2% commission. Most people are on 2%. So you're not going to lose out by much. So most of the bets are 1 point win. Sometimes they're 1 point win with a 1.5 stake on Betfair Exchange SP for a place. The maximum that we would put on a horse would be 2.5 points, which is 1 win, 1.5 place. So we don't do silly things as others do and have 2 points on this, 3 points on that, 4 points on another. That's just playing games with your money. We are a level stake operation in the main, and that level stake is 1 point.
Okay, that kind of answers Alan's question, I think, because he's asked average bet amount. The bank size that's recommended is 20 point
points.
Bank. Yeah, and money-wise, as Mel mentioned earlier, he's recommending starting with £1,000, and then you can bet £50 per bet. So Richard has asked, on average, how many bets per year, and do you bet on Top Jumps Racing? So 2 questions in one there.
Last year we had 54 bets, which is an average of 1 a week. Please remember, We don't bet every week. It's just because the Class 1 races that we're looking for aren't there, or entries into that race aren't there. Sorry, just remind me of that question again.
So it's how many bets per
Yeah.
year,
So-
and do you bet on Top Jumps racing?
Yeah, so it is an average of one bet a week, 54 last year. We bet National Hunt and we bet on the flat, very rarely on the all-weather, but we look to see if we can bet on the all-weather. We're very, very good at festivals. The last two festivals was Punchestown on the National Hunt. We had 3 bets at Punchestown and we had 3 winners. The festival before that was Aintree, and we had 1 bet there, and that was a winner also. So I would say we're coming up to the summer months now, so we ought to be busy with Epsom coming up the weekend. Royal Ascot follows that. Then there's York meetings, Sandown meetings, Newbury meetings, Newmarket meetings. They're full of Class 1 races, full of top class horses, and we're just looking for a top class horse that, in my opinion, according to my interpretation of the form book, ought to win, and we get it right 50% of the time on average.
Which is enough to make a long-term profit with the
It
numbers.
is, yeah. If you're at what 13 to 8 to 7 to 4, so that's what 1.72, 1.75. So it's your return is 2.72, 2.75 for your 1 point stake. There you go.
So I got a couple of. I want to talk to you about festivals and what makes them so good for betting. Kind of before we lead into talking about the Derby, and I want to leave a bit of time for you to go through your analysis and give people the tip,
Okay.
and for them to maybe ask some questions if anyone has any questions about the tip. But a member in the chat whose name is they've put as First Class Racing, which makes us confusing. But he's just saying, I just thought it'd be good to read out because he or she has just said, Mel, you're right. I've now lost again with tipsters because Class 2, Class 6 tips, and most days I only picked. So it's basically saying that what you're saying is resonating with him, like
Good.
following tips.
And who's
money.
that? Who's that?
So they're calling themselves First Class Racing.
Oh, okay.
So just one of the audience members. But yeah, so I promise it's not me and Mel writing.
It's Josh. Josh sitting somewhere typing up another question. Yeah.
Because he's basically saying, so it's a recipe for losing, betting every day. I'm going to change, and if I do join a tipster, he's got to think this new way. And it sounds like what you're saying resonates. Basically, I just thought so. What you're saying is resonating with some members of the audience.
Oh, that's excellent.
Sorry.
The reason we're really good at festivals is because that's where the best horses turn up, and you would and will be surprised that a lot of occasionally in these races, there's one horse there that is just so far ahead of anything else. And as long as I can get 1 to 2, that's our minimum price. As long as I can get 1 to 2, which is 1.5 or better, then we're backing it. Why wouldn't we? It's the best horse in the race. It should win. Of course, they don't all, but it should win. And we wait for them. So that's why we do well at festivals, because the best horses are there. We get a good run throughout the spring and summer. National Hunt can be a tad quieter because every road leads to Cheltenham. But still, there's that really good horse that sits in a race, and we'll have him on the way to Cheltenham. And remember, we're betting in France as well. There's a big meeting at Chantilly this Sunday, which I've got a lot of work to do because the entries aren't all in yet, or declarations. But that's the Prix du Jockey Club, which is the French derby. But there's, I don't need to memory, I will tell you, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 6 Class 1 races at Chantilly on Sunday. So I've got 6 races to assess for Sunday between now and declaration stage. So we're always working, or I am, with 7 days ahead from 5-day entries, 48-hour declarations, and then on the day. That's the process. What's in the race, what's declared, and then you need to know what's happening on the day. That's what we do.
I think that's worth highlighting, actually, because even though the bets can be, there can be time between the bets, there's not, you're doing the research every day. It's not like the workload for you is high. You're doing the research, you're looking for bets. It's just the volume of bets being low doesn't mean you're sunning yourself in the garden.
No. But that's what I'm paid to do by my clients, is to do the work. And I'll be brutally honest here, and I'm sure they would agree with me. I do the work because they don't know how to. I interpret the form book because they don't know how to. I come up with the selection that I feel ought to win because they don't know how to. And why should they know how to? They have not traveled my path over 52, 53 years. I know exactly what I'm doing from day to day to day, because that's my job, that's my passion, that's my income, and that's what I want to do.
Just as first class racing, the audience member has said he's called Terry. So okay, we'll keep an eye out for you in the membership chat if you want to join, Terry.
Welcome, Terry.
So maybe we should move on to your Epsom Derby. Am I pronouncing it right? Analysis. Derby.
Yeah,
Derby.
I'll allow Epsom Derby, but really it's just the Derby.
The Derby, okay. So the Derby analysis. So you've got a bit of analysis and then a tip to share with everyone. If anyone has questions specifically about the Derby, or you've got some other questions for Mel, you just throw them in the chat and we'll try and cover them before the end of the Q&A. So shall I hand over to you, Mel, and you can talk people through your recommendation?
Yeah. Right. Firstly, I'll say everything I've said to you so far this evening has been unscripted because I've lived it and I breathe it every single day. So I don't have to script what I'm going to say to you. But the Derby coming up, I've written a few notes. So if you see me looking down, it's because these are my notes and I won't forget anything. Right. This is my take on the 2023 Derby. Important this year, we're going to start at 1:30, provided the moronic protesters allow us to. We're starting 1:30 because there's FA Cup, United versus City. So be on your toes, 1:30 start. Now, when I look at a race and I see multiple entries from one trainer, that always sets my alarm bells off. What it suggests is that connections are unsure of their number one hope. And of course, another unknown, particularly for the Derby, 3-year-olds, is which horse is improving the most at this time. Right. I don't know. You don't know. And multiple entries tells you that the trainer, the jockey, the staff, the owners don't know either. The trainer in question, as so often this year, is Aidan O'Brien. Brilliant trainer, Yes, he is. But fortune teller, he's not. He's a multiple winner of the Derby. He'll be looking to extend his record of Derby wins this year. And he wins not always with the most expected horse. There's a pecking order too for the jockeys, and still they choose wrongly. To expect the number one jockey, in this case it would be Ryan Moore, to get it right every time is foolish, although the clue is there. What Ryan picks could be the one. In 2023, Aidan O'Brien has 4 entries following last Monday's final confirmation stage and ahead of Thursday's declaration stage, so it could change. Auguste Rodin was touted as being the Ballydoyle contender for this year's Triple Crown, starting off by trying to win the 2,000 guineas. Unfortunately, on his seasonal debut in the 2,000 guineas, he finished 12th of 14 runners, having been hampered by his stablemate and others after only 2 furlongs. His race was effectively run. Adelaide River, Covent Garden and San Antonio, who won the recent Derby trial, the D Stakes, make up the team contesting the Derby, and in my opinion, each need considerable improvement to win. Although I've read that San Antonio will go for the Prix du Jockey Club on Sunday at Chantilly, so Aidan O'Brien may only have 3 runners. Now, what does that tell you? He's got Auguste Rodin, which he thought was a Triple Crown winner, or possible, certainly a contender, but he's got 2 outsiders. So the fact he's only running 3 instead of 5 or 6 or more that he does, that to me is suggesting a lot for Auguste Rodin. Charlie Johnson, who took over the licence from his dad, Mark, he fields 2 runners, Dear My Friend and Dubai Mile. The latter has 2-year-old form, suggesting he could be a serious contender. Could it be a Frankie Fairy Tale? His final Derby ride aboard Arrest. He's not without a chance, but both the trainer and Frankie would have preferred to have gone for the Irish Derby. They think the flatter track will suit him better than at Epsom. However, he won another Derby trial earlier in the month, the Chester Vase. Now, this I find very interesting. Charlie Appleby, again, would normally have multiple entries, but this year he's 1 runner only in Military Order. Military Order is a full brother to the 2021 Derby winner, Adayar. He's got obvious claims, and could it be a tip in itself, just 1 entry? And again, Military Order won a Derby trial at Lingfield just 2-3 weeks ago. Passenger, trained by Sir Michael Stout, has been supplemented at a cost of £85,000. He needs to improve markedly to justify such an expense. The Foxes, who won the Dante, has taken the scalps of Passenger, White Birch and Dubai Mile already, so he must be considered. But again, improvement needed. Now, the Foxes is trained by Andrew Boulding, who's already had a classic winner this year, the 2,000 guineas with Chaldine. And he would want to be emulating his father, Ian Boulding, who won the race in 1971 with Millreef. We now add into the mix the draw, the going, Epsom undulations, the Derby distance, among other variables. It's really easy, isn't it? Form interpretation.
Yeah, I'm I'm gonna do mine. I'm gonna do mine after this, which is that horse is a nice colour. I'm gonna bet on that one.
That's the one. That's the one. Oh, I've just lost me. There we are. I'm back again.
There you go. Yeah, you're back.
I seem to have gone dark.
It shows the level of detail you go into and the level of kind of analysis.
Oh, indeed. So a lot of horses, as I've just mentioned, a lot of horses need to improve on what they've shown so far. One horse, though, just needs to put one bad run behind him, and that's Auguste Rodin, the bad run being in the 2000 Guineas. If he can do that, then the 12 furlongs could see the best of him. Now, Aidan O'Brien currently is the best there is. And if he feels that he only needs to field 3 horses, 2 rank outsiders, I think, again, that's a tip in itself that he has so much faith in Auguste Rodin. So if you put a gun to my head and make me have a bet at around 3-1 or 7-2, which is 4.0, 4.5, I would suggest that the genius that is Aidan O'Brien, with so much faith in this horse, that would be my tip for this year's Derby. And I do think Military Order won't be too far away either. And as is my will and want, good luck to us all.
So can you just state again which horse are you recommending?
Right. My number one
just so everyone's super clear.
Right. My number one recommendation is Auguste Rodin at around 4.0, 4.5. And one that also ought to run a good race is Military Order. But my number one is Auguste Rodin. Okay.
Well, we'll see how that pans out. So the 3rd, that's on the 3rd, yeah, the 3rd of June.
Saturday, yeah.
Yeah. And that's a tip that will be going to first class racing members as well.
In that form, yes, but not as a betting tip.
Sure. Okay. So if anybody has any questions for Mel about the tip, about his analysis that he just went through, stick it in the chat. And if not, then we'll go ahead and we can talk a bit more about the service, tell you what's involved, what you get. Terry mentioned, I think we've got a bit of audio double back, but hopefully that stops. But Terry just asked if you remember the betting legend Patrick Veitch. I'm pronouncing his name wrong.
Patrick Veitch, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are there any bettors that you do kind of rate, I guess, whose approaches you kind of look up to, kind of thing?
Yeah. Patrick Veitch would obviously be one. And most people of his ilk, Barney Curley would be another. JP McManus would be another. They are all very secretive people when it comes to betting. They would all have a trusted number of people around them, trusted as in they do not open their mouths. The other thing that they do, and I couldn't possibly do, is that they would own horses, plural, and they would be set to win particular races. I certainly wouldn't suggest they would cheat prior to the horse running in a race, but they would know more than I, and jolly good luck to them. They have all made millions. I have not, because that's a different track from where I come from.
Yeah, maybe unreachable for the average, the average bettor as well.
Totally unreachable.
Yeah, that kind of in the know, behind the scenes knowledge that is not illegal, but
Right. Well, I've mentioned 3 names. There will be others, but not many more. I'm just trying to think. The Irishman, I can't think of his first name. Byrne, Byrne. He's another very, very shrewd cookie, but again, on a very different wavelength from me. And there wouldn't be too many more that could pull off a coup that these guys do. So if you said there's 4, let's double it. There might be 8 people out there, and that is a high number. It probably is an 8, and none of those people I've mentioned operate now as they did. And you put them against the millions of people who go betting. That's how far removed they are from reality, if you like. And they put a lot of money into it. Good brains, good planning, good luck to them.
So that may be the 0.1% of the betting world. But just to,
or smaller.
yeah. Paul in the chat said it's nice to hear someone who does thorough analysis. So it was good for you to walk people through your kind of process.
Thank you, Paul.
We've got a bit of audio feedback with me talking. So Mel, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask if you have anything you want to finish on, and then I'll tell people. Then we'll say goodbye to you, and I'll tell people a bit more about the service and how they can join if they want to. So is there anything you'd like to say before we say goodbye?
Yeah, it's unscripted. As I said earlier, what I would say to everyone watching, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a long-term investment, and I consider long-term to be a year. I'd love you to join us. We've got quite a lot of clients, happy clients. I wouldn't do this unless A, it was transparent, B, it was totally honest, and C, if I couldn't talk to you via the Telegram, I wouldn't do it. Don't join us if you haven't got a betting bank. Please don't do it. Don't start with £150 and expect that you're not going to be sweating on every single bet because you haven't got the bank behind you. Get your bank together. If you do join us, there is no reason why we would suddenly stop achieving 48, 50, 53%. No reason whatsoever. Join us, be patient, be disciplined. If you're struggling with either, talk to us, and I'll do my best. I'll answer every question that you put forward. And within 3 months, 6 months, 9 months from now, you'll be like the rest of my clients in a different world, enjoying watching you racing with your hands in your pocket, because you're not going to put a bet on. You're just going to watch the racing, enjoy the horses, love it, and then occasionally step forward, and 1 out of 2 times you're going to be a winner. If you join us, thank you. Look forward to seeing you. If you don't join us, thank you. And thank you for taking time out for an hour tonight. I've loved it. I do it. Well, Duncan's going to shoot me off, but I'd keep going now for another hour. Absolutely no problem. Unscripted. I've loved it. Thank you for joining me. And maybe we'll get to chat in Telegram another day. Thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks, Duncan.
No, cheers, Mel. Thank you for your time this evening. We've got a time limit on the software
Sure.
we're using for this. Otherwise, we go for 6 hours, whatever.
Oh, not a problem. Absolutely. So, shall I clear off?
Yeah, sure. And then I'll talk people through how they can join First Class Racing. So, thank you again, Mel.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
So, I'm just going to load up. There we go. Everyone should be able to see that. And then I'm going to get the chat back. So I'm going to answer any questions about the service that Mel hasn't covered at the end of this, but I'm going to just take you through the service. So thank you to everyone who just took part. You asked some good questions in there, and hopefully, like Matt, you just saw how sort of transparent and confident Mel is in his own approach, and the track record kind of backs that up. If you're still here and you're still watching, that can mean only one thing, which is you might be interested in becoming a member of First Class Racing. So we covered a lot of the details of how the service works in the Q&A, and it's pretty straightforward. So you may just want to go ahead and join Mel right away. So what I'm going to do is, if I can find it, I'm just going to activate the membership link right now. So you should see that above or around the chat. And you can click on that. It'll take you to a secure order form page where you can read what you get, and you can choose between the different membership options if you're already ready to make the decision. For those of you still on the fence, over the next few minutes, I'm going to quickly break down the full details of membership. We'll cover what you get, recommended starting bank sizes. I know we've talked about it, but we'll just go over it again. The price of admission, as in how much does the service cost, and why we're putting a 25-person limit on new memberships today. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. You get two main things with your First Class Racing membership. Number one is Mel's tips, and number two is access to the First Class Racing Telegram community. First up, let's look at Mel's tips, which, just a little reminder, over the last 18 months or so have more than doubled his members' money. Mel's tips are delivered via both email and Telegram, and as his approach is low frequency, you can expect, on average, as we talked about, a tip maybe once per week. You know, that you can go a few weeks or more without that, but as Mel said, I think he averaged about 50, I think it was 54 bets last year. So that should give you an idea. That said, just calling Mel's recommendations tips or selections doesn't really cover what he does, because he really goes above and beyond in his write-ups, which you may have gathered with his analysis he just did on the Derby there. He explains exactly why he's recommending a bet on a particular horse, and perhaps more importantly, he tells you why he's sitting out when he sits out of a week's racing or a specific event. This is an aspect of the service, learning discipline, that Mel's members get a lot from. As David Edmonds says, brilliant write-up, Mel. It's the educational side of your posts that make us all better bettors in the long run. David Hughes agrees, saying, what a write-up, Mel, and more discipline embedded in us all. Now, another huge benefit of Mel's approach is he's betting on horses where the prices generally hold. And we did kind of talk about this. Member Chris Marlowe explains it well, saying the good news is because we are backing in Class 1 races with more liquidity in the market, the prices hold for longer, which also, as we just talked about in the Q&A, means the track record is realistic for the average punter, which is, I think, is a really important thing. In fact, member David Edmonds says this is the most transparent service I've ever used. The published results spreadsheet is accurate and very closely mirrors what I've actually returned. If you want to see that spreadsheet, you can email clients@thebetchat.com. Right, so that is Mel's tips covered. In summary, you can expect thoroughly well-researched tips once or twice a week on average from Mel via email and Telegram, alongside regular write-ups where Mel explains his reasoning for getting stuck into an event or sitting out, and realistic odds the average punter can actually get on. And quite importantly, an education in betting discipline, which will serve you well during your time with Mel and just about any other betting venture going forward. So right, next up, we have the First Class Racing Telegram community. This is a huge part of the service. As you've seen throughout this Q&A, I've been pulling quotes and screenshots from the community itself. It's a place where you can celebrate winners together, like when David let everyone know that Mel's bets had paid for his wife's birthday meal, saying what a great way to celebrate it, spending the bookies' money on a thoroughly good meal. And as we just talked about, the community is great for helping members manage the psychological aspects of betting, like discipline. Like when member Ronnie Taylor says, "Thanks for the early call, Mel. Discipline has been well and truly embedded following you." The community also gives you a level of access to Mel to ask questions or just engage in a bit of banter that you don't get with 100% email-based services. And I hope tonight's Q&A shows you how important that can be for your betting. And also, as you've seen today, he's just a nice guy to chat to. Next up, let's talk starting bank size. As we've covered, Mel recommends a 20-point starting bank. So to make this work, you'll want to start out with at least £1,000, as Mel recommended. This makes 1-point stakes £50, 2-point stakes £100, and so on. Although, as Mel said, he rarely, if ever, goes above stakes of 2.5 points. As we discussed earlier, it's Mel's impressive win strike rate, which is usually above 45%, that makes such a low point starting bank possible. £1,000 as a minimum starting bank size also means the numbers make sense when you factor in the price of the service. So what is the price of membership? So you've got two options. Option number one is quarterly membership at £199.97. And option number two is annual membership at £599.97, which compared to quarterly essentially gives you a discount of £199.91. Or for people who like percentages, a discount of 25%. But whichever membership option you pick, I think Mel's track record more than proves you're making a sound investment. As member David Hughes says, his membership almost paid for my subscription, and we're not even finished with September. Even better, you're not actually committing to anything when you sign up for first class racing today. That's because your membership comes with BetChat's ironclad, indestructible money back guarantee, which is 30 days for quarterly membership and 60 days for annual membership. That way you can take Mel, his tips, and the community for a kind of test drive. Simply come on in and see if you like it, and if you don't, no hard feelings and nothing lost. Just let the BetChat support team know you'd like a refund, and they'll refund you every penny if you're in that refund window, which is again 30 days for quarterly membership and 60 days for annual membership. The support team is also there to answer any questions you might have about your membership. Now, this time around, like we did with the last Q&A we did, we are putting a limit on new memberships. We're capping the number at 25, and that's for a very simple reason. Some of Mel's members are so confident in his bets, they're staking large sums. And while we've had no market moving problems yet, we've decided it's best to err on the side of caution and kind of take in a smaller number of new members in one go. So that's why we're only taking on 25 new members for now. So that's it. I hope I've done a good enough job relating why Mel's service is so special and different to a lot of betting approaches out there. As I say, the membership link to take you to a secure offer page where you can choose between quarterly or annual membership should be above the chat. We should be somewhere in this webinar window near the chat below this video. So if you're ready to join Mel, you can click through and join him, and then join the Telegram group and get chatting with the other members right now. I'll stick around for 5 minutes or so to answer any questions any of you have about what I've just covered. Once again, thank you for everyone for coming along. Thank you for everyone that asked questions. I always love talking to Mel, so it's kind of an enjoyable evening for me too. So if you have any questions about what I've just covered, I'll stick around for a few minutes. If not, then thank you again for attending. Again, there's about a 10-second lag in the chat, I think, so I'll just stick around for a little bit. Again, all the details I've just gone through are on that secure offer page. Oh yeah, sorry. And any further questions you have that I haven't covered, or if you look at the offer page and you've got more questions, you can send them to clients@thebetchat.com. Thanks, Bet, for monitoring the chat this evening. Hope you had a cocktail in your hand or something. You might have a question in the Q&A bit. How long will the 25 places last? I think last time we did that, it was kind of under a week. The places probably got taken up. So you've got a bit. 25 places is enough time to make a decision. We don't want to rush you into anything, but at the same time, there are limited spots, and if they do get taken, you'll have to wait till the next time we open stuff up. Oh, sorry, Graham. Sorry, I missed your question, Graham. Graham says, I opted for quarterly membership. Is it possible to update to annual membership at a later date? Yeah, Graham. So as both, it's Josh. I'm imagining things. It's BetChat Josh in the chat. So yeah, email clients@thebetchat.com and they should be able to help you upgrade from quarterly to annual membership. I'll stick around for a few more minutes if anyone has any more questions. Again, there's a money back guarantee on both membership options. Quarterly is 30 days and annual is 60 days. So it gives you a time to kind of, even if you want to just come in and not bet straight away, and you just want to see what it's all about, join the Telegram group, chat to other members, see what they think, take a look at Mel's ongoing analysis with the races. And then make a decision. You've got that 30-day or 60-day window to take the time to experience it and see it for yourself. So Terry's asked, does Mel have another tipping line? Cotswolds does the same thing. I think his name's Mel. Not as far as I know, Terry, but if you email clients@thebetchat.com, they'll be able to tell you. But I don't think so. Oh, there we go. Mel's answered for you. Yeah. So the first class racing is Mel's only public tipping service, and I think he might provide tips to a few private clients as well. I'm definitely in. Excellent. Well, welcome, Graham, and get in the Telegram group and say hello to everyone. And I'm sure Mel will be in there to say hello too. Although I don't know, he might be having a post Q&A pint. I don't know, down the pub. I like how you've got a star next to your name in the chat, Mel. I don't know if I've got one of those. I'll just give it one more minute, see if there's any more questions, and I'll say goodbye. So I need to put in 5 decades and then I get a star next to my name, Mel. Okay, I think that, there we go. Yeah. Okay, I think that's it. So just again, thank you to Mel for taking the time out this evening to answer people's questions. Thank you for everyone that came and attended. Welcome to any new members that are joining First Class Racing. I'm in the Telegram group too, so I'll say hello. But really, Mel's the one you want to talk to, because I am not someone whose horse racing tips you want to follow. So thank you again, and we're going to end the Q&A here. So say good night and have a good one, and goodbye.